Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 120 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. Wow, 120 of these silly things. Who'd have thought that would have ever happened? Anyhow, today's show, we got an email from Jeff, an email from Lewis, and talk about some of the stuff there. Thursday's shave of the day and kind of the title track, Don't Assume. Got me in trouble. Not bad trouble, but still, I ought to know better. It's cold. Inflate your tires. I'll tell you why. The Saturday shave of the day, Snowmageddon, and it was about over at that point. I'll tell you a little bit about that. A guide to straight razors and a newspaper strop. Who'd have thought that? Well, we'll tell you all about it. Actually, I won't. Joe will. Joe does a really good job. Lessons learned from the power outage. Yeah, during Snowmageddon, we had a power outage for a while. Off and on. We've had power outages here at this house pretty much ever since we moved in. It's just kind of the nature of the beast living where I live. I'm down at the very far reaches, and so every time something happens, our circuits get cut off, and, well, it is just what it is. So I have a tendency to be prepared, but there were still some lessons learned. Monday shave of the day. Sometimes you just got to give things a try, and there you go. I got an email from the Shaving Den with a gem dating chart. Now, this is a chart that will allow you to date your gem, Ever-Ready, or Star razor. Good stuff. So there's a link in that for that, and you can go over to the Shave Den and check them out. It's good for them over there. Tuesday's shave of the day. Okay, Stetson with menthol. Really? Yeah, not too bad. So what are the names of Jeeve soaps? What are they actually called? I've been struggling with that. And so Brian over there actually sent me a message to help me out. And so we'll go through those. And then Wednesday's shave of the day. I got 4 of them on that one, specifically on the razor blade. And I thought the limit was 3. Well, in fact, I got 4 out of it. Yeah, it worked, and not a bad little razor, or blade, rather. Tell you all about it. Now, the other thing that I got to do this weekend, in addition to playing around in the snow and ice and power outages and, doing stuff like that, I got to do something that was, well, just absolutely thoroughly enjoyable. I got to go to a beauty pageant talent show, but more importantly, it was being sponsored by the high school band program, and the jazz band was there playing. And I'm going to throw an excerpt in here somewhere as bumper music. And I was really proud of those kids. They did an excellent job. There were a couple of times when I just kind of leaned back, shut my eyes, and, well, I really thought I was listening to a professional group. Not bad for a bunch of kids in high school. And like I said, I was really, really impressed. So if you get a chance, go out and see if your local high school has a band program. And if there's any way that you can support them, well, consider it. Music is something that takes a special talent to be able to create. There is certain people have that talent. Most of us don't. I know I don't, and when I see somebody with that talent that's willing to share it with me, well, it just touches me in a special place. So if you get an opportunity to support a band program or support your local kids that are out there or your own kids that are out there interested in band, playing in the band, playing a musical instrument, just being creative, go support them, whether it's singing, band, whatever. If they're being creative, support them. They'll feel good about it. You'll feel good about it. Anyhow, let's get on with this show. So I also got an email from Jeff, and he said it's titled Winter Field Day. Hello, Rick. Glad you're back. And was wondering where you were. Just assumed you were taking a long break. Yeah, I do too. Anyhow, thank you for this week's podcast and the information at the end. Very good for people to consider now. I was wondering if you were going to have your scouts involved in this coming weekend's winter field day. We're going to a local park and setting up. It's supposed to be in the 60s and 70s here, and then below freezing this weekend. Yeehaw! Here's the link if you're not familiar. And they took over from SPAR this year. It's the winterfieldday.com, and he's down in Palestine, Texas, Mr. Jeff is. He concludes it with 73s, and have a great week. 73s, if you've never heard that term before, is popular amongst ham radio operators as saying, it's a way of saying salutations and 73s, we'll talk to you later. So there you go. So also he said, P.S. I hope the brake light fix keeps you dry. Yeah, so far it seems to, although we've just gotten snow. We've got a little bit of rain, but I haven't seen any leakage, haven't noticed anything, so all good. Now, Winter Field Day. No, I'd never even heard of Winter Field Day. Didn't even know it existed. And I have not participated in it at all. So good stuff. I'll take a look at that, and I know we missed this one, but who knows? Maybe for next year, I can keep that in mind. And for any of you that care to learn about it, I'll provide the link in the show notes. Anyhow, Jeff, thanks a lot for the email. I also got a reply email from Lewis about the jerry can. He said, unfortunately, I'd already ordered from Amazon by the time I got your reply and paid almost double for the red can and $30 more for the yellow one. My line of work, if you need something, even if the price isn't completely agreeable, you gotta bite the bullet and make the purchase. I would have just bought regular safety cans, but I knew once I bought these, I'd have to have a really good excuse to buy the jerry cans. With all that said, I absolutely love these cans. As long as they keep making them, I'll keep buying them. Plan on getting some for personal use also. One 10-liter and a few 20 liters. Thanks again, Lewis. Well, Lewis, I'm glad you're having good success. I've been looking, during this past winter event that we had down here, lost power a few times, and I got to thinking about heat. Now, I have a kerosene heater. I need to go through it. I haven't fired it up in years because I really haven't needed it because, well, I had the fireplace and everything else. But it would probably be a good idea if I had, a couple cans of kerosene and that heater in operational order. Is just something that I ought to think about. And so, I got to thinking about jerry cans, and boy, that would be the way to store kerosene as well. Granted, it's really good for gasoline, but it'd be just as good for kerosene, and they do make this just pretty blue one that specifically made for the job. Anyhow, thank you very much. I'm glad you found success with the jerry cans. I really like them. They pour better than the old jerry cans do, and they close better than anything that I've seen. And just seem to just all in all work, which is exactly what we want in anything. It's kind of the same reason that we have safety razors instead of cartridge razors, because, well, doggone it, it may cost you a little more, but in the end, they just work. And when I say they may cost you a little more, the razors themselves, the blades don't. Trust me, the blades are nothing. In fact, we'll talk about one that's only a quarter over at Tri-Blade and does a pretty good job. So stay tuned. All right, so we are back in the mobile studio. It's a Thursday, day after podcast day. It's always interesting when I wake up in the morning, because sometimes with everything going on and all that, I get to bed late on Wednesday nights after putting together the podcast and getting it out. And of course, then I start, looking at things and checking out other stuff. And, I usually end up going to bed, well, a little late. So, all's good, so that's not a problem, but, it does create an issue of sorts, come Thursday morning. Usually, not all the time, but usually, I am a little bit more fatigued on Thursday morning than under normal circumstances. I am typically, I don't know. I was going to say the word brain dead, but it's not quite that bad. Brain fogged. How about that? And sometimes I make, mistakes on Thursday mornings. And lo and behold, today was, no different. Never assume. Okay, so the last couple of days, or the last couple of weeks, I have been using some of the Jeeves of Hudson Street soaps. And particularly, I've been using the Mountain Rain and the Tobacco and Bay. And so I used the other soap that I have, and I can't remember the name of it. And of course, he's changed names, so it just makes it all that more difficult. Anyhow, so, and I wasn't that awake this morning to really notice the smell or get into it. I was just in a fog. So I loaded the brush after soaking it in my scuttle, and so I soaked the brush and proceeded to load things up, and went ahead and once I loaded the brush, started the lather in the bowl of my electric scuttle there, my ceramic bowl, and without even thinking about it, because the last two soaps that I have used from Jeeves have been, just a tad thirsty and have needed 2 teaspoons of water, I automatically assumed and went ahead and threw 2 teaspoons of water in to make the lather. And what happened? Soup City. Holy cow. Okay, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this going, all right, this is not, wait a minute, what the crap? I assumed. I took a new puck, a different soap, a soap that I had never used, and instead of working my way up to it, I just, assumed. Mom said there'd be days like this. Dummy. Holy cow. Anyhow, so we survived. We put a little bit more soap on the brush and, loaded a little bit more soap up and let it sit there for a while to kind of balance out a bit. And it was a little thinner than I like. But, oh my gosh, it's just, talk about lather. Granted, it was, just the bubbles were a bit big. So, yeah, it happens sometimes. Anybody that tells you they've never made a mistake, they're not doing much. Anyhow, that was the note this morning. Don't assume, just because it works for one soap, even from the same manufacturers. And in fact, sometimes even if it's say you buy 2 pucks of soap, you go through one and you go to the second one. Don't assume it's going to react the same way. Just don't do it. Okay, so kind of along the lines of using my old vintage razors just because they seem to work nicely for me, because the edge of the blade, I've noticed, has much closer to the open comb or bar or whatever, and just it allows me to get a closer shave, especially under the nose. Anyhow, so I used my Gillette new short comb, which is at one time was my most used razor. I love that thing. I used it for, oh good gosh, I'm thinking easily 4 or 5 months. It was my dedicated shower razor. That was, back in the day when I just got off of the plastic disposables, and that was, I'm not going to say it was the first razor I had, but it was one of the early ones. The only downside for that razor is at one point somebody dropped it and bent one outside tooth. Doggone it. Otherwise, I'd get it refinished. Because right now it's brass and copper. I mean, there's no finish left on it, and that's just kind of the way it is. But that's okay. It works great. Now, the real surprise of the morning. Okay, so last week I talked about TriaBlade, gave them a shout out, and because they do a fabulous job. I mean, anybody that you call, or, send an email to and say, hey, it would be nice if you carried these, and within a week they say, hey, we got them. I mean, good gosh, that's huge. So, when I ordered the Feather Spineless from TriaBlade a 3 weeks ago, or whenever it was, I also ordered some other blades. Now, I have been on kind of call it a kick, to try out carbon steel double-edged blades. They don't make just plain carbon steel blades very much anymore. They coat them, they make them out of stainless, it's all that stuff. Well, as I was looking through the catalog of blades that were available from TriaBlade, I happened upon the Treat Falcons. Now, treats are made in Pakistan, and I have had good luck with I think it's the Treat Original, or Treat Classic, I believe it is, which is a carbon steel blade. Really, really like that blade. Well, okay, so they have these Treat Falcons. They're a quarter a blade from TriaBlade, all right? I've never tried one before. I put it in my Gillette New, and oh my gosh, I'm here to tell you, it was a surprisingly gentle, smooth shave. Holy cow. I was like, okay, is the blade even in this thing? And okay, I put the Treat Pakistan blade in instead of the Gillette Silver Blue that's made in Russia, right? I mean, it was that comparable. It was, fantastic shave. Now, didn't put any pressure on anything, just shaved. Holy cow, a shaving machine. So very, very impressed with that. Now, don't get me wrong. First shave, okay? I don't know if this blade's going to last 1, 2, 3 shaves. I have no idea at this point. So this is all new territory. But the first shave, wow, good stuff. Really solid performer for me, anyhow. BBS, or at least pretty dang close. Some of the areas that I normally, it was only a 3-pass shave, and I didn't do any touch-up, and quite honestly, it was very similar to a 3-pass shave with touch-up for most of my other blades. So very, very nicely done. I was very impressed. So all in all, good stuff. We're out here. Finished the shave off with some Pinot Clubman. We're out here, and there's supposed to be a winter storm warning coming up sometime. We actually had snowflakes yesterday. Now, you got to understand, the last time we had, snowflakes, usually we get sleet and ice and rain and just, that kind of stuff. But it was snowing. Big, fluffy snowflakes. It was great. I haven't seen that in years here in South Carolina. And so it didn't last very long. I mean, maybe a half an hour, but absolutely beautiful sight. It was... granted, I almost panicked. I had to, quell the urge to run to the store and, fight with people buying the bread and milk. Of course, if I go to the store and I'm going to be shut in for a while, I'm not buying bread and milk. I'm buying beer, eggs, and bacon. If I got that stuff, I'm good for a while. Yeah, bread and milk. I don't know. I was talking to one person. Why the bread? Well, you got to make grilled cheese sandwiches. Like, okay, so you buy the bread, but where's the cheese in the list? I don't get it. Anyhow, it's what people do. I get that, but it is fun to scoff at certain aspects of the snow and ice and everything else, because Lord knows when you're out in it and sliding around and crashing into ditches and other stuff, and it's not fun. I get that, but we do make we do have the ability to make fun of ourselves from time to time, and that's not a bad thing. So Anyhow, great shave this morning. A few surprises. Don't assume. And sometimes even a cheap Pakistani blade that you didn't hold high hopes for. Well, sometimes things surprise you. So, is it cold outside where you are? It is just, well, it has been the last couple of days here. And I took advantage of the cold to do something that, well, most people probably don't think about. I filled my tires up. Cold weather is actually a real good time to fill your tires up because oftentimes, you know, you filled your tires up when it was warm outside, and the air has a certain volume, and you pump your tires up to 30, 35 psi, somewhere in there. And then you don't think about it. And what ends up happening is it gets cold, and the gases that are maintaining the inflation pressure in your tire, well, they collapse. They get cold, and the pressure goes down. They haven't expanded as much. And so, lo and behold, you have less pressure in your tires than what you think. And so when it's cold is the best time to fill up your tires. And especially at the beginning of the season if you possibly can. But realistically, any time that it's cold is a good time if you haven't done it. Fill up your tires, and you will have good pressure during the cold winter months. Now, it's especially true from a safety aspect because maintaining proper pressure in your tires means that you maintain the contact patch of the tire to the road. Most people don't think about this, but realistically, each tire that you have on your vehicle has just a small contact patch with the road. The average car, with the weight that it carries and everything else, probably has about the equivalent of 2 sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper of contact with the road. So you think, that's not a whole lot of surface area, and that is necessary for traction, for stopping, for, steering, all that good stuff, okay? Now, if you don't have proper inflation pressures in your tires can do what's called cupping, which means that the center doesn't have real good contact, and you reduce the amount of surface area that's actually contacting the road potentially by up to half. And that's not real good. And so, tires are designed to have full contact all the way across that contact patch, and if they don't, well, they don't behave the way that, you expect them to, or, even what the company wants them to do. So, think about it, and if you haven't inflated your tires, at least go out and check them, and especially as we're starting to get into some wintry weather that could mean, I need all the traction I can get. Well, apparently Snowmageddon here in South Carolina has, almost gone. Come and almost gone. It was kind of neat. Okay, so snow, really it was a nice snow. It really wasn't a whole lot of ice. One of the things that we always worry about whenever we get snow issues and storms and things like that along with cold weather is the ice. Ice has a tendency to hang in trees, take out power, make travel, impossible. And so there was some ice, and there was some power outages, but for the most part, not too bad. And of course, then the issue is, being in South Carolina, that instead of being cold and staying cold, it warms up, proceeds to melt, and then, lo and behold, freezes the next night. And as soon as it freezes, there you go. You now have ice everywhere. Not a good thing. So, all in all, it seems to be okay. Roads are clear. A lot of snowmen up there. which is good because, in South Carolina, when you can make a snowman, well, it's a good thing. And just kind of takes and puts some of the fun back into things that, well, could otherwise be, I don't know, a little bit stressful. You can't make it to work, can't make it out. Some people aren't prepared for that kind of stuff, power outages and things like that. And so, having the ability to go out and just make a snowman, for crying out loud, just have some fun, relax for a minute. Don't worry about the small stuff. Realize that, yeah, you'll probably survive. You may be hungry, you may be cold for a little bit, but, have some fun. And then when it's all said and done, that's when you sit back and you go, okay, what did I learn from this, and what can I do better? So, speaking of learning and what you can do better, all right, so the other day I was talking about, my shave of the day. The shave of the day was with a Treat Falcon. Now, the Treat Falcon is a carbon steel blade made in Pakistan. Now, I have had good luck with Treat Classics, which are also a carbon steel blade made in Pakistan. And so I wanted to try the Falcon just to see if there was any difference. What I found was that the first shave was pretty doggone good. The second shave was, a little bit less. And by the third shave, it was pretty much done. For me, at least on the first blade that I tried, the Treat Falcon limit was 3. Kind of reminded me of the old Tootsie Roll commercials with the little boy and the owl. Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? And the owl grabs it and goes, 1, 2, crunch. Or 1, 2, 3, crunch. And then he looks at him and says, 3. Well, it was kind of like that for me with the Treat Falcon blade. That last blade was razor burn and just, ugh. So I put a new Treat Falcon blade in this morning. Now, you got to keep in mind that whenever you do something, you could be, fortunate. You could have gotten a good blade. You could have, karma could have just been perfect. I don't know. So today's blade it cut very, very nicely. It really did. But it gave me some mild razor burn. Very, very different scenario than the first blade. So while I'm sitting there and, the other day talking about Falcons and going, wow, I'm really impressed. Now, not so much. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, I did everything the same, use the same brush, use the same soap. Everything else is identical. It's just the blade has changed. Use the same razor. It's just the blade that has changed. Now, I attempted to not use any pressure and, all that. Still got some razor burn. I mean, when I threw on some aftershave and I threw on some Clubman Special Reserve, which has a pretty good alcohol content, there was a touch of sting there, which is one of the reasons that I chose it, because I knew I was going to have razor burn and I needed to make sure that, any antiseptic properties that I could get out of the alcohol, I would get. So, all in all, it's not a bad thing. It's part of learning, Still got a great shave. I mean, it is a good shave, but it did leave some razor burn. And the razor burn was not just to certain areas. It was pretty much all over. So part of me is wondering, okay, is it because of the razor burn that I got on, shave number 3 the other day? Or is this razor burn from just, today? Or is it, razor burn because yesterday I was outside in the cold and it dried out my skin? That could be a factor too. One of the things that you have to look out for in cold weather is getting windburn and, skin that's dried out and things like that, which could also greatly influence and impact what's going on. So, all in all, it was a good shave. I did, good shave and all, but just a little bit of burn, and could have been for various reasons. So I'll let you know. Now, I was using the Jeeves of Hudson Street soaps, and so again, great soaps. Really enjoyed the lather of those things, and I was using my Gillette new short comb, and Yeah, that and my electric scuttle, just to kind of, make things shine just a little bit. And besides, it's cold outside, so I deserve a treat. Couple of links and things and stuff out there on the internet that I need to make you aware of. First off, Sharpologist has a great guide. It's a guide to conventional straight razors. It's done by Joe, and he talks about if you've ever wanted to learn nomenclature, what do they call these parts and pieces and portions of a straight razor? What do the sizes mean when they say 4/8 or 7/8? What's a shavette anyhow? And how's that different than a regular straight razor? And what's this thing called a kamasori? Never heard of one of those, but this weird looking Japanese thing, and what makes it so different? Well, it's all in there. The parts of a straight razor, whether you're talking the heel, the edge, the spine, the tang, the tail, the jimps, okay? It's in there. And talk about the types of blades, carbon steel, stainless steel, the different grinds and what the advantages and, sometimes disadvantages of the different grinds. So that's in there. The blade sizes and what they mean, and then the points. And it even says spike point requires the most amount of attention, to say the least. This is the most dangerous of the 5. Yes, it is. I can attest to that. I have several of them, and every now and then they will bite me. It's funny though. It's only on one side. It's got something to do with my hand position and everything, and that's just weird. But they do, and yeah, you do have to pay attention. Most of them that starter razors and things, they're round points or potentially French points, but most of them are round points. But so they talk about the different kind of points on the straight razor, and it's good stuff. So Joe, the writer of this, he's a long-time wet shaving enthusiast and collector. And he also is the co-host over there at Wet Shaving News. So, good stuff. A fellow podcaster. Great thing. Anyhow, he's got some, there's this article that is on Sharpologist. And then there is another one that he has done over on his blog, Shave Straight and Safe. And what that one is, which is really rather intriguing, is how to make a newspaper strop. So if you have a straight razor and you want a strop and you don't want to put out all the capital money for a leather one, you can actually make one that is very workable with a newspaper. And he's got a YouTube video to show you how. I'll put a link to that one too. Good stuff. Joe, thanks a lot. And by the way, you're doing a great job over there at Wet Shaving News. So one of the things that happened here in the last, 2 days, because of the winter storm, we lost electricity on multiple occasions. And one thing that I was very impressed with is that, at least in my household, there was no muss, no fuss. The wife just walked up to where we keep the couple of flashlights, grabbed one, and proceeded to, go about her business as if nothing had ever happened. I did find out, which was curious. I have a little uninterruptible power supply that I mainly use for lightning protection on my cable modem, my Wi-Fi router, or I guess it would be my cable router and my Wi-Fi. No, it's on my cable modem and my Wi-Fi router, as well as my television. And so one of the things that I found is that when the power went off, I actually had internet because I have cable because it didn't go out for a couple of minutes before the UPS system finally shut down. And I also had television. So my DirecTV worked, my television worked, everything that was on that system functioned. And so I had entertainment, which was good because I realized that, hey, with that setup, if I do happen to need to power things with a generator, I can basically run an extension cord to that one system, and I've got Wi-Fi, television, entertainment, basically all right there coming off of one source. So I was real happy with that. That's very, very good to know. Now, the other thing that was nice is that, I do have a couple of kerosene lanterns, lamp oil lanterns, if you will. And, we lit one of those up when the power went out as it was getting a little bit later in the afternoon and dark and everything. So, lit one of those. Now, I have several. And one of the things that I realized is one of them that I don't have any lamp oil in it. Okay, well, that's something that I will rectify, and because I happen to have lamp oil out in the garage, so it's not a big deal, but it was interesting to find out. The other thing that I have a number of is lanterns, LED lanterns specifically. And there's a couple that I have that are Coleman's. And what they have is they have battery packs that pop out and are interchangeable. And those are, a little bit different than some of the others that just, you put the battery straight in the bottom of the thing and turn it on and voila, you've got your lantern. The Coleman's, you got the battery pack and all. So the thing that I have been, I don't know, I always thought it was just one or two lanterns, but the thing that I was struggling with is that little battery pack, the connection just wasn't that good. And it didn't do that good a job of getting the power into the lantern. Now, you're only talking about 3 D-cell batteries, and so you're thinking, how hard can it be? Well, I tried just about every trick in the book, and still every now and then the lantern would, short out and cut out, and it's just something's just not right with the design or something. So I am going to slowly, I've got one that does not have that. It's just, straight LED. I will get away from that and move towards a different system. Originally I thought, well, that's a nice system because you can swap battery packs in and out and everything's good. But it really is not that good if it doesn't work. So, lesson learned, and we'll continue on with finding something else. But that was good to know. Now, the other good thing was that we had battery packs and everything else, and if the power had stayed out for a while, I put a fire in the fireplace, so that was all good. Although I did realize that I do need to get some more wood up on the back porch just in case. So that was good. All in all, it was a pretty good, mini dry run, if you will, for longer power outages. Now, of course, I understand that people are out of power for, potentially a long time in situations like that. And, I'm not trying to make light of it. My heart grieves for them. I really do, because I know how much we rely on power, and I know how potentially uncomfortable and, in fact, dangerous it can be without power. So, if you're one of those folks, my heart goes out to you. It truly does. However, I would ask that you think about, what can you do, whether that be kerosene heaters, LED lamps, generators, other kind of things. What can you do to potentially make your situation, survivable and maybe even, maybe not pleasant, but at least not as bad as what it, could be. It's just something to think about. Every time I go through anything, whether that be, it doesn't really matter what it is. I always go through it with the attitude of, okay, what can I learn from this to make it better the next time? Whether that is shaving or, a power outage. It doesn't matter to me. The thing that matters is, what can I learn from it? How can I grow and improve? And so, one of the things that I look at. So, battery packs, the small battery packs for like keeping cell phones charged up and things like that, making sure that those are charged. And if you happen to have an inverter, inverters for vehicles are very good, especially the larger ones, because, if you throw an inverter on your battery and set your car at idle, you have a very nice generator sitting out in your driveway. So it's just something to keep in mind. Whenever there's storms coming, do you make sure that you have fuel? One thing that I noticed, for example, I was coming home from work the other day, and lo and behold, there's a place, a hardware store that has a propane filling station, and there was 20 people standing outside with propane tanks, waiting to get them filled, in case the power went out and they needed to cook or whatever. I have a couple of propane tanks at home already filled because I keep them that way, and I've got one sitting on the grill and a couple others in standby. So if you can think ahead of something like that, the last time, the time that you really don't want to be standing out in the cold trying to figure out how to get propane and things like that is like right as the storm is hitting or right before the storm. It's something to keep in mind. That's when prices are high and availability is an issue and all of that. So something to keep in mind. And there you go, kind of a report of what happens when we have snowstorms and power outages, at least in my household. All right, well, let's talk about the shave of the day. The shave of the day today was with my Samog 1305 boar brush, some Jeeves of Hudson Street Velvet Jacket soap, and my Gillette Short Comb New with a Pakistan Treat Falcon blade on it, and this was its second shave. Now, the other day, I had the first shave on the Treat Falcon, and I was, just a tad dismayed because of the razor burn and irritation that I got. I'm convinced today that was due to being outside and getting a little sunburn, a little wind burn, and everything else due to the weather. Because today's shave was actually a very nice shave. Didn't have any issues. Didn't have any real problems with razor burn or irritation, so I'm throwing out yesterday's issues as an anomaly due to skin conditions, if you will. Today was actually a pretty good shave, just shy of BBS. Very, very nice BBS on the cheeks, if you will, not quite under the jawline, but overall, a really, really good shave. What I finished up with was some balm, which I probably should have finished up with the other day when I had some razor burn. I chose alcohol instead just to make sure I took care of any issues, and I don't mind the sting. But a little bit of balm this morning, some L'Occitane Beauve, which is kind of a leathery tobacco scent. Very, very nice. I really do like it. Much more refined than some of the scents that I recall in my youth, such as English leather or Stetson or something like that. L'Occitane is a much more refined sense of smell type product. All of them are. So I'm glad to have graduated. Although I must admit, I do have some Stetson sitting on my counter. Well, just because. Nostalgia. Yeah. Anyhow, the shave of the day was pretty good today. Didn't have, I face lathered with the Jeeves of Hudson Street soap this morning, and it did okay. But it's interesting. I'm having, with this particular soap, and it's just, I don't know, it's different than the other ones just a little bit. It's not quite as thirsty, but at the same time, when I face lather with it, I can't quite get the right amount of water in there to make it work the way I want to. So I don't know if it's just the particular soap or, the other ones I face lathered and didn't have a problem at all. Which leads me to, once again, suggest that if you have a bad experience or an experience that you did not expect, and I'm not trying to say my experiences here are bad, just not quite what I expected. But if you have an experience that you didn't expect with a soap, if the overall performance of the soap is to your liking, you might want to try, more than one fragrances or whatever to see if it's indicative of just, the soap base or a particular soap or whatever. Because, one of the things that I find every now and then is certain soaps, they don't work real good. But other soaps by the same company work exceedingly well for me. And so it's part of the adventure. It's part of the fun. And it's kind of like blades, Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You do your best. But, blades are rather unique things, kind of like a puck of soap is, If just because one doesn't work does not mean that, you don't necessarily, or that you necessarily have to discard the whole lot. It's just every now and then you get a bad one. So, that's part of everybody's experience, And so if you have a friend, for example, who says, this soap worked really, really well for me, and it didn't work quite as you anticipated when you try it, it may be that, you just got a bad one, or one that was a little bit different. Or it may be that, your chemistry's different or whatever. But it's interesting. That's why, when people start getting on Facebook and forums and things like that, and somebody says, ooh, I really like this soap, and everybody just piles on that, oh, God, this soap sucks, or this is bad, and this is worse, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, my gosh, people, really? It is just amazing. It's just, I understand the passion. I appreciate the passion. But at the same time, all people are just a bit different. So take that into consideration. Anyhow, that was the shave of the day. I got an email from the Shave Den, and it's good stuff because it is the dating chart for Gem, Everready, and Star razors. So I will post a link to that. If I can figure out how to get a pic of this thing, I'll throw it up there. But good stuff. All right, well, let's talk about the shave of the day. First off, it's just a bit chilly out here. It is I say a bit chilly. It's a bit chilly for us. It's 25 degrees. Beautiful day. Overcast, kind of a gray, winter type day. Yeah, it's just perfect for this time of year. Just the way it's supposed to be. Speaking of just the way it's supposed to be, let's talk about, the shave of the day. Okay, so the shave of the day today, I'm still playing around with my Gillette Short Comb New. And I have been playing around with the Jeeves of Hudson Street soap. And in fact, I'll tell you about those here in a minute. And Samog brush, Samog 1305, and my Falcon blade, made by Treat in Pakistan. Now, previously I had said that, the limit for these blades is 3. And on the third shave, last go-round, I kind of reached a level of roughness of, whatever, that led me to believe that 3 was it. Well, my third shave on my second Treat blade, my second Falcon, occurred today, and it was wonderful. It really was. I mean, it was, again, BBS everywhere except underneath the jawline, where, if I had put more effort into it, I could have managed it without any issues, really. Smooth shave, no problems. Good carbon steel blade. So maybe I was wrong. The key is that there's nothing wrong with carbon steel blades, and that was what I was trying to find out. The other thing that I'm doing, which is a bit of an experiment, and it'll be interesting tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and shave without Falcon Blade tomorrow. That'll put 4 shaves on it. And I may call it quits at that point because, well, it'll be time for the podcast. And, a good time to swap out blades. Anyhow, the other thing that is kind of an experiment going on is that for the first 3 days that I was using the carbon steel blades from Treat, I would take it out of the razor, I would dry it off, and I would set it on something that would allow airflow all the way around the blade edge so that I wouldn't get any deterioration of the blade. Now, the blade that I have in there now that I've been using for the last, 3 shaves now, be 4 shaves tomorrow, I have not taken out of the razor. And one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to see, okay, for 4 days, what's the potential level of corrosion, of issues, of whatever, underneath ye old top cap with carbon steel blade. Now, it is my hypothesis, and I may be wrong here, but it is my hypothesis that there may be a little bit of staining, but there won't be any active rust. What ends up happening, I believe, is that the rust doesn't kick in for a period of time, and it's when you leave a blade in a razor and then kind of forget about that razor within your rotation that you, set yourself up for issues. So, that's what I'm playing with. And I'm doing it in the Gillette New, my short comb, specifically because it has a brass bottom and a copper top. And those two metals are less prone to damage, deterioration, etc. from blade rust, and I can see then the main points on the blade itself instead of getting stuff all over the place and interactions from other materials, etc., etc. So it's just an experiment without a hypothesis, and we'll see how it goes. So, shave of the day. So, ended up, now yesterday I was talking about, I kind of bad-mouthing, I suppose, Stetson a little bit, but like I said, I happen to have some sitting on my counter. And the latest one I picked up at Walmart. It's a Stetson Cool Splash or whatever. And it's Stetson with just a touch of menthol. It's actually pretty nice, especially if you enjoy Stetson. Now, the reason that I say I didn't have any issues is that Stetson does have, it is an alcohol-based aftershave, and splash that on and nothing, no irritation, no problem areas, no nothing. It was, just kind of like throwing water on your face, which is pretty nice. Of course, then, about 5 minutes later, you can kind of feel the cooling effect of the menthol. Like I said, it's very light menthol. So, very, very refreshing. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So anyhow, that was the shave of the day. All right, so let's talk about the Jeeves of Hudson Street soaps that I have. As you've probably noticed, I have struggled a bit with the names of these soaps. Because, lo and behold, after I ordered them, Jeeves of Hudson Street, Brian, changed the names of the soaps. And so I went to the website and I attempted to determine which soaps I had based on the colors of the labels, the colors of the wrappers that I had left, etc., and just generally based on the smell. Okay. So, all right. I wrote to Brian and I said, okay, I'm lost here. Help me out. So here's what he wrote me back. He said he's going through a name change on the Sense, and yeah, he is. I understand that. Got that one down, no problem. He said the Turkish bath is barbershop. Now, the thing that's intriguing about that is that when I smell Turkish bath, it smells much more tobacco-y than a barbershop normally would. But okay, so the Turkish bath that I have is the current barbershop. Mountain Rain is conservatory. So I got that one right. So, I'm 50-50 here. So batting 500, I could be a major league player batting 500. That's not bad, huh? Okay, well then I go downhill. So the Velvet Bay that I have been using, or the Velvet Bay, the Velvet Jacket, I'm so excited about batting 500. The Velvet Jacket that I am using currently, that I've been using all week, is the Tobacco Bay Leaf, okay? And that was the one that threw me. I really thought, okay, that's just me. I really thought that from the smell, the Turkish bath was the Tobacco Bay Leaf because it has a much stronger, at least to my nose, tobacco profile. And the Velvet Jacket doesn't. So, I don't know. But anyhow, the tobacco flavor that I enjoy in the Turkish bath is, from what Brian said in his letter here, that's barbershop. So, yeah. Anyhow, with all that said, so I'm still a little confused. I'm thinking he's got those messed up. Maybe it's me. I don't know. Anyhow, I will read his letter straight. I will not stop. I will not interrupt. Turkish bath is the barbershop. Mountain Rain is the conservatory. Velvet Jacket is the Tobacco Bay Leaf. Okay, end quote. So there you go. And the main thing is, though, is that the scents are very, very fine. They're very nice. I have no issues with the scents. They're not sweet. They're very, they're very manly scents. There are some soap companies out there, and I do enjoy their soaps. So please don't take this as any criticism. But the scents that they use are, well, just a little bit sweeter, if you will. They have a little bit of a sweeter profile. These, on the other hand, do not. So I've really enjoyed these soaps, and we'll continue. I'm going to go back to Turkish bath tomorrow for tomorrow's shave, for the final shave on my carbon steel Falcon blade made by Treat. And so we'll see how it goes. Take some pictures and see what kind of blade deterioration we have, and just overall see how it goes. But there you go. That was the shave. So there you go. That's a letter that I got from Brian after kind of calling out with a plea for help, going, help! I need some better descriptions here. So anyhow, just one thing that if you make a name change, no matter who you are, if you make a name change, what you might want to do is put in the description what it used to be, because it's possible that somebody had bought your products previously under the old name and would like something similar or the same thing. And if you rename it, they have confusion finding it and basically give up and go away. That's not what you want as a vendor. So anyhow, just that's what I would do if it was me. Put down there in parentheses or something all the way down to the bottom, formerly known as, or AKA, or something. Have some fun with it. Anyhow, there's some little bit more information on the Jeeves of Hudson Street soaps. Okay, sound checks are done, and we're in the mobile studio negotiating traffic once again. What could possibly go wrong? Anyhow, let's see. The weather today is 46 degrees. Gray, overcast skies, and looks like it's been raining most of the night, or at least dripping, and everything's kind of damp, and there's puddles everywhere, and so it's all good stuff. Now, this is the kind of weather that I like, well, in the wintertime. None of that cold stuff. That cold stuff brings this obnoxious white stuff. I don't know what's up with that, but anyhow. And it also brings ice. Now, the only thing good I can say about ice is that it gives you something to put in your scotch from time to time if you don't like the flavor and want to water it down. Just kidding. Anyhow, let's talk about the shave of the day. The shave of the day today, like I said the other day, I was going to, this is kind of the conclusion, if you will, of my review over the last couple of weeks of the Jeeves of Hudson Street soaps. And so what I went ahead and did was, soaked up the Samag 1305 boar brush and proceeded to lather up the Turkish bath, which, according to Brian, is barbershop. Okay. Yeah. Anyhow, out of all the scents, out of the Mountain Rain, the Tobacco Bay, and the barbershop, my favorite scent out of all of those is barbershop, followed closely by Mountain Rain, followed very closely by Tobacco Bay. Okay, I really enjoy the scents. They're gentle. They're there, but they're gentle. But my favorite is is what he's calling the barbershop, what was previously called Turkish bath. Okay, so really enjoy the soap. Lathered up great, teaspoon of water through it in the electric scuttle. Great lathering soap, nice and warm and luxurious this morning. Good stuff. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do is previously I had mentioned that 3 was about the final number for close and comfortable shaves with the Treat Falcon. I eked out 4, okay, on the blade that is in there now, and I basically got 1 nick from it. So I was very careful and very gentle. If you are careful and gentle, you can eke out 4, but I'm going to stick with for me it's 3 as far as how many you can get out of the Treat Falcon blades, which still is not bad because you can buy them from Tri-Blade for $0.25 a piece. So 3 shaves for $0.25, that's not bad. Now, I do not have an exceptionally thick beard, so of course your mileage may vary. It's always one of those things that to each person has their own, characteristics, and will have their own experience depending on different blades. But for me, it's a viable option. The first couple of shaves are really, really smooth, really, really nice. Did enjoy them. The first one was just, miraculous. I mean, I was astounded at how smooth it was. It was really interesting, and quite honestly, for that, I'd almost say, well, if you're used to spending, $1 a blade for like feathers or 95 cents a tri-blade, and you get a week's worth of shaves out of them, $0.25 a piece is not too bad. Take it 1 shave and dump it. So, recycle it anyhow, because you can do that with safety razor blades, unlike disposable cartridges. Anyhow, the other thing that I finished up with the Cooling Splash Stetson today. Again, I used that yesterday just to get a little bit more of that light menthol feel. And it's interesting. I don't know if that is a direct reflection on the line of fine aftershaves, because when they came out, they had menthol in them, and I believe that they have become very, very popular. And I'm wondering if Stetson's looking at that and going, menthol in aftershave. Yeah, we can do that too. It just seems interesting that, a couple of years after the fine line of aftershaves comes out, I noticed that Stetson has a Cooling Splash aftershave with menthol in it sitting on the shelf at Walmart. So, it's just curious. Yeah, granted, I don't go into Walmart and look at aftershaves all the time, but, well, it is kind of curious. So, that was the shave of the day today. Good shave, pretty close. Again, I'm not going to say it's BBS because, being the 4th shave on that blade, it's not quite where it needs to be, but it's definitely better than socially acceptable, and pretty good shave all in all. So I'm liking it and ready to start the day. It's a good day. It's Wednesday. Got a lot to do today, but that's okay. That's what keeps life from being boring, is fill it up with stuff to do. And that's kind of fun. Although I must say that if you're going to fill it up with stuff to do, fill it up with stuff to do that involves other people. Because, the social interactions, those are the fun things sometimes. Well, sometimes not, but sometimes they are. Especially if you get to the point like I am where half the fun is just watching. And seeing how other people react to the situation and just kind of sitting back and going, yeah. Anyhow, that was the shave of the day. Hope you have a good one as well. Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.